Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Data Dispatch. Hope everybody is having a great day. We continue to see optimism in the market. The broader market was relatively choppy, but closed in the green and held the 6,700 point for the S&P 500 index. In terms of some big stocks that are starting to gain a lot of momentum, we're going to be talking about BMNR and why this is becoming particularly interesting right now as we speak, what Tom Lee is saying regarding institutions, and really how this is going to become the general token for Wall Street, especially with the political backing that we're currently seeing. On top of that, we'll be talking about PLTR, of course, continuing to tread up near its all-time high levels. We'll be covering that. And also a stock that we literally talked about yesterday, ASTS, achieving new all-time highs today as we've seen some very bullish announcements and anticipations for their upcoming projects regarding their satellite launches. So if you're a new or returning viewer, hit that like button, subscribe for daily videos. Let's try to hit 30,000 by the end of the year. That is my goal. Help me achieve it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Pop it up on the screen here. Let's talk about BMNR. Now, Bitmine Immersion Technologies is starting to gain a lot of momentum. And I'm seeing a ton of trendiness in terms of not just a retail, but institutional stock that a lot of people are starting to gain a ton of attraction towards this. And we're seeing a lot of flow that's coming into this in terms of the whole crypto rally for Q4 that's being anticipated. Now, BMNR right now at 56.50 pops up about 7% in the day. Now, this is a very volatile stock that can easily swing 5 to 10% in a day. So if that's something that, your stomach cannot agree with, maybe it's not the best stock. There's dividend stocks for that, of course, which also serve their own purpose. But right now, BMNR is kind of at this interesting resistance point. We've seen some short-term resistance right at this $55 level. I think if we can push above that, depending on how Ethereum trades, we'll be talking about that in a few moments here. That's where you're going to see the retesting here of 60s. And if this breaks out above the $60, $70 zone, then I think it's the blow off top, kind of where is BMNR going, depending on how Ethereum and how I think crypto is going to be reacting. But however, in terms of the after hours right now, we see in terms of the overnight session, 56.27, so a little bit of buying pressure. It was slightly down in the after hours, but now seeing a little bit of a bid, some momentum that is coming towards it. We do have Tom Lee here live on CNBC saying that Bitcoin is going to make a monster move in the next 3 months because of supply shock that is incoming. And that is we have a ton of crypto, Bitcoin, and Ethereum that is currently being taken off of the exchanges, which can cause a supply constraint, on top of Wall Street basically trying to find a whole token to help tokenize the whole financial industry. We've seen it with Vlad from Robinhood talking about how tokenization is really going to take a big piece of the traditional financial markets. And on top of that, you see a ton of huge bets and big calls right here, like this big call, 164,000 right here on the 21st, $100 call. So a lot of bullishness coming in. And on top of that, you have Ethereum over the last 7 days is up about 13%. Now, of course, with all this, things can swing the other way. We could see any types of implications or changes in the macro environment that could cause swings the other way. However, a lot of people and what we've seen historically in terms of seasonality, October, November, and December have relatively been strong months for the cryptocurrency industry, and BMNR is going to have likely a positive reaction to that if things play out to basically as they are expected to be. Now, BMNR and right at this level right here, it's at an interesting point. Personally, I do have a position in this, so take that, of course, with a grain of salt. Do your own full due diligence out there. But bullish right now. I'm bullish with Tom Lee, and in terms of the way that they're accumulating, that like he says, with the power of numbers, trying to achieve that 5% of ownership of Ethereum. That is a big bullish move, and the amount that they're acquiring every day really helps increase and just shows you the proof of the native asset value. Now, let's talk about here. You also have Trump coming out today saying that he's considering taxpayer rebates from the tariffs for U.S. citizens of $1,000 to $2,000. So talking about a potential stimulus here today, I mean, with the market at all-time highs, I don't know if we really need a stimulus. A lot of people calling for the paying of national debt instead. But hey, if they're going to give us 1,000 to 2,000, I mean, that's just more money to trade with. So interesting to see here. But nonetheless, the broader market sitting at about that $6,700 level in terms of the index right here, right at 6,700. It is a good spot in terms of this index and this index point. If it can hold the 6,700, I think we still do have room for 7,000 by end of the year targets that can still be on the table. We kind of brushed off that whole August and September seasonality, and typically there's a lot of cash that kind of sits on the sideline. So now everybody's like, oh, holy Toledo, do we need to jump in considering that we have not gotten that seasonality? Now, that could come at any time. Of course, this market is at a very interesting one. However, we do have a whole AI boom that is behind us. The big thing that I'll be looking at, especially, is going to be looking at the next quarter earnings that will help show and give the market a type of, you could say, foundation to remain resilient. Now, stocks closing here at record levels. I'm still very bullish. Who cares about this whole government shutdown? It typically doesn't have a big mark on the terms of volatility in the markets. Actually, historically, we've seen the SPY, the S&P 500 index, that have actually typically done well. Now, let's talk about Palantir right here. Palantir is at 187.04. In terms of its actual trading, Palantir is also doing quite well. We don't have a ton of individual catalysts for Palantir to talk about today, but at 187, it's slowly kind of breaking out of this consolidation phase here between this 183 and this 177 zone. Breaking out of this consolidation phase, you can see Palantir is going to likely retest its all-time highs here, right about this 189 here in the near future. Now, if you add this with any type of catalyst or any type of big headlines or anything like that, like huge contracts, which we know Palantir is continuing to execute at a rapid pace, both on the commercial and governmental side of things, Palantir could easily, I think, test the 200. I do have that on the table in terms of my own personal prediction for end of the year targets. $200, that's only $13 away. It's crazy. We've been talking about Palantir since 2023. If you were to say $200, if I were to say that, everybody would be calling me absolutely insane, and look at where it is now. So pretty crazy to see there. Big moves nonetheless regarding Palantir. Also seeing a lot of huge call flow coming in here. Notably, the 190 strike for October 31st, so end of the month, calls expiring coming in at 1.8 million. So a lot of calls coming in, a lot of bullish flow. Let's talk about ASTS, because we literally talked about this yesterday. We've been talking about this since the bottom. I did have a position, but did exit recently, just due to the liquidity that came in, the amount of bullishness. It's just had to basically take some profits because they were a little too juicy to kind of leave on the table. That's one important thing that I'm just trying to stay more disciplined with. You can see here, right here at 48, this was the bottom for ASTS, and we've had 2 double-digit days. So lots of big news coming in for ASTS. We had the whole roadmap regarding their satellite announcement. We do have 2, talking about that with more of the roadmap and those satellites, 2 by like the end of the year, and even more, and like 45 to 60 satellites that they want kind of as all laid on the roadmap. And on top of that, you also have the president coming out today talking about here, stating up to 10 use cases for both communication and non-communication. He also stated testing that they've been doing over a year and potentially strategic and valuable implications for the Golden Dome projects. Now, nothing official has been announced regarding Golden Dome, any type of contracts, but talking about value implications for the Golden Dome project keeps me very bullish. Now, ASTS right here at its all-time highs. Yes, I could have left, more room to run, but like I said, don't want to leave too much on the table. If this does pull back a little bit, I will genuinely be interested at re-entering into some type of a position, because I am very bullish on ASTS in terms of the long term. Now, ASTS, I think in the next few years, this could easily be a $100 stock, especially if this whole direct to satellite, it's looking like more of not just a research and discovery type of idea. It's like, hey, this is looking more like an actual concrete catalyst that could be a big benefit to the market. One big thing that I do like in terms of the consumer market too. One thing I do like about ASTS is that they're not trying to develop like their own type of network or their own type of device to utilize these connections. They're working with the current mobile network operators like Verizon and AT&T and things like that. So that's what I really like about that in terms of this product that they can offer with the current, kind of foundational structure that is within our society regarding cellular connection and offering this kind of premium service of a direct to basically device connection with satellite, and that would allow a lot of people that don't have cellular coverage, would give a lot of people coverage across the globe, not just in the US, because a lot of us do have coverage, but think of all the different countries that don't have coverage. This potential opportunity here and the total addressable market is quite relatively sky high if you really think about it. Nonetheless, other than that, stock market looking quite good. Very bullish, like I said, on BMNR. You got Palantir that could be hitting 200 here in the near future. The stocks that are making some big moves. I mean, Nebius here at 125. My golly, we were just talking about this at like 55, not even that far ago. So a lot of bullishness. What do you guys think about this? Peace out, take care, and I'll catch you guys later.